is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem.
We can meet our destiny to build a land here that will be for all mankind a shining city on a hill.
You're listening to the Liberty Brothers Radio Show, only on Revolution Radio. Now, here are your hosts, Jim White and Jason Van Tatenhove.
The crusade for freedom is your chance and mine to fight communism.
Please hang up and try again.
Rob, how you doing?
Hey, doing great. Can you hear me?
We can. You're live on the air here on the Liberty Brothers Radio Shows. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
Hey, Rob, this is Jim. Thanks for joining us. Let me give you a proper introduction. Joining us on the line is Rob Dew. Rob is the news director for InfoWars.com and the InfoWars Nightly News. In 2010, he co-directed with Alex Jones Police State 4, The Rise of FEMA, a hard-hitting documentary which covers the FEMA internment camp plan, the Pittsburgh G20 protests where the police and military used sounds cannons on the American people for the first time, and covers the false flag terror attack known as the underwear bomber, which was the pretext to put radiation-spewing naked body scanners in our airports, and has evolved into the TSA putting their hands down our pants. Rob is a graduate of West Virginia University with a Bachelor's of Fine Arts in Theater, and that is the place where he first started writing about left-right paradigm and to the dismay of his liberal editors. Rob Dew, thanks so much for joining us on the Liberty Brothers.
Thank you. Once again, it's a great introduction. Sounds like I wrote it.
Well, there's some evidence that you may have. Okay, so Rob, appreciate you coming on, man. And I tell you, I was just I was astounded by the news I read on the Drudge Report. I'm sure you're probably like me. You guys probably hit the Drudge Report quite often. On the right hand side there, it had the senators, I think, or congressmen worried about a sort of an ammo ban, like sort of a presidential decree from our Lord and dictator Obama is going to make a presidential decree to ban all ammo. I'm sure you guys are familiar with what's going on over there with that at InfoWars.
Yeah, and this isn't anything new. If you go back to 1995, Bill Clinton was actually calling for a ban on bullets that pierce body armor, and of course they call them cop killer ammunition. That's what. Anytime they want to scare you, they go, "Well, it's a cop killer. It's a cop killer." And in fact, there's a quote from Clinton that said, "If a bullet can rip through a bulletproof vest like a knife through hot butter, then it ought to be history. We should ban it." And but that will never apply to law enforcement. They're not going to get rid of any type of ammunition like this. It's just our problem. It's just an excuse to go after guns, is what this is. And I hope people can see that. It's not. In fact, they even did a study. They haven't even found a cop that has ever been killed with the bullet that they're trying to ban.
I was just going to say, Rob, they haven't found one incident where these grin-tipped ammunition has killed anyone as far as law enforcement goes.
It's rare that AR-15s are used in crimes anyway. That's not what they're used for.
The vast majority would be handguns, correct?
Correct. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And they're not. They're not worried about safety. That's the bottom line. They're worried about our guns, is what they're worried about. And everybody who is listening should learn how to fire firearms safely, learn how to load it, clean it, and I would stockpile ammunition. So.
Well, it's that same duplicity, Rob, that you see with people like Rosie O'Donnell and others who want to take our guns, yet they've got 6 armed bodyguards, of course, surrounding them at all times. It's almost like a double standard. It's okay for us to have them, but we don't want you to have them. And that's a sure sign of a society that's marching quickly towards tyranny.
Well, there was a study. They just said houses are being made for the rich and poor. There's nobody in between. The middle class is being dismantled. And it's accelerating, and I think that you're going to see the next crash. They're just going to consolidate a little more wealth from the middle class, because the middle class is what keeps this engine going. They're the ones who go out and buy things. They go to restaurants and eat. The poor aren't doing that as much. It's the middle class that can afford to do this. And as you're taking away their abilities, although you don't see it in Austin because every restaurant you go to here is packed to the gills. I think we're under some Agenda 21 plan, which is going to keep us going for a while. We're a smart city, so they're going to keep us alive a little bit longer than the rest of the country. But yeah, it's just disgusting what we're going through, and people don't see it. I mean, there's Rothschild's coming out saying something's going to happen, Greenspan saying something's going to happen. Numerous other people have been saying it before, Gerald Celente, other guests that we've had on. but nobody's going to see it until it happens. Oh, how did we know? We had no idea that all this was going to collapse, the housing market or whatever the next bubble is that's going to collapse. I mean, right now they're just loaning money out interest-free to their own rich buddies. So when it does collapse and you have to sell your assets, they're going to be ready to buy them.
Well, Rob, it seems like there's a very clear and distinct message being sent to the American people just by the actions. If we look at the ammunition purchases made by Department of Homeland Security, I mean, that's enough hollow point ammunition to wage a 7-year war. I just read an article this weekend. I still have to verify and see if it's coming from a reliable source. But basically, it's saying that the police program is about to get the A-10 Wart-Hog, which we've seen in recent warfare, is about to be retired. And this is a close ground support war machine. I mean, there's really no other way to describe it. I mean, the thing carries 10 missiles. It's all designed around a Gatling gun. And now they're talking about using it in the same 1033 program that these MRAP vehicles and all the militarization we've seen with local police departments, that's all happening through this 1033 program. And they're looking at adding A-10 Wart-Hogs to this program. How can we see something like that and come to any other conclusion than they're getting ready for war here in America against us? I mean, it blows my mind to think, how can someone come to any other conclusion when you have these weapons of war being given to our own police forces that, already with the instinctual shooting training, we're seeing just a rampant rise in police violence. This doesn't end well for us.
No, it doesn't. And hopefully we can stop a lot of this, at least educate people. So when it does happen, they will quickly realize that they were being lied to and then come to the side of liberty and freedom instead of the side of tyranny and oppression. Because, the Wart-Hog is for nothing more than killing people. It's providing close ground support. Yeah, they have a Gatling gun on there, and that's and that plane is designed to circle in a position and just maintain constant fire on the enemy. And I can't think of any good reason they would want an implement like that, unless it is to kill American citizens.
Well, they're going to put a less than lethal 40 millimeter launcher on the nose of that thing. But if you look at the design of these A-10s, I don't know if that's actually going to work out. And even if they are firing less than lethal 40 millimeter, tear gas bullets and dropping tear gas bombs, they're looking at retrofitting some of these bombs that they've used in the past as tear gas bombs. It's still not, again, do we really need laser guided tear gas bombs for people exercising their First Amendment rights here in America?
But they're saying we're only having lone wolf attacks. They keep telling us it's just lone wolves, nothing to worry about. Like that guy they arrested in Ohio. That doesn't sound like he's from Ohio. They put out I don't even know if that's a real recording, but they say it's this guy in jail, the Chris Cornell guy. And have you guys heard this from Fox News? Did an interview with the guy from prison, and he said he was going to get a bunch of ammunition, and they're going to pipe bomb Congress, and he was going to shoot people as they came out.
I didn't hear that, but I don't have traditional media. I'm stuck with the internet.
Well, it is on the internet now. There's different people that have had it. I was afraid to put it up and get a copyright strike on our YouTube channel because they seem to be gunning for us. Anything we put on that's the least bit controversial, if we don't outright own it 1,000%, they don't consider it news. They consider it copyright infringement, which is totally disgusting.
Yeah. Rob, you see you guys did some great reporting on this. I think your man Joe Biggs was right down there on the scene. These black sites, man. I mean, these things. I have to say, Rob, I've covered, not as much as you guys, but I mean, I've covered this stuff and covered news and followed InfoWars and stuff for many years. And I don't know if I've seen anything more heinous as far as an affront to our Constitution than these black sites, man. I mean, what do you think about these things? What's the update on those?
I think the scariest thing is that people in Chicago don't know they're there, and then a lot of them. We did a report on this. They're kind of, I mean, they're angry about it, but there doesn't seem to be much other than, well, that's, I guess that's kind of what the government's going to do. And these are well-to-do people. They went right to the downtown area, and every one of those people looks like they have a job that they contribute in some way to society. And they were a little angry about it, but not the time like, what? We have sites where cops can come into delis and grab people and kidnap them for days at a time, and nothing happens to them, and we're just supposed to accept it. And the only ones that go out and protest it, when Joe was there, he's like, one thing is the communist groups, I don't agree with what they say, but man, they're out here protesting this stuff. And why is it only the communist groups? I mean, there were a few info warriors there, but why is it mostly these communist groups that are up in arms about this? Not everybody. Why can't we have everybody out there going, this is wrong? I mean, one of these guys, has ties to Guantanamo Bay, one of these police lieutenants. So they're taking tactics that they learned in Guantanamo and bringing them here, or they're doing it the other way around. And the news media, the mainstream media is running cover going, oh, well, there's no CIA connections to these. There's no CIA connections. What do you call that? That looks straight out of a CIA playbook where we grab people. We don't let them see a lawyer. We don't even tell them what they're being held for. We just stick them in a room for 2 or 3 days and then let them out as long as they agree not to bring it up to the press.
And there's reports that they're injecting people with heroin. I mean, what kind of craziness is that? Maybe the guy's in recovery or something, and they're trying to mess with his sobriety. It just sounds like there's so many crazy things happening there. And you're right. I don't see how people are not just completely up in arms about this. And I can't believe that this is the only black site we have here. I know there are multiple reports of them in Chicago, more than one in Chicago, and I'm sure every major metropolitan area probably has their own at this point.
I would not be surprised. I've gotten intel from people saying, hey, look, they're building this new office building for the government, yet it's got reinforced walls and reinforced doors. I mean, this thing looks like a fortress, and they're building it in the middle of downtown New York. And, these guys are like, there's something up with this. I don't know what it is. There's other reports people have been sending me. There's they say it's a social security building, yet there's uniformed Army personnel hanging out around there. What does that have to do with Social Security? And there's one thing I wanted to get back to. I reported on a story yesterday of South Carolina doing an Operation Vigilant Guard exercise, and they have the National Guard training going door to door doing wellness checks. They just want to see if you're okay. And nobody sees that this is not to see if they're okay. This is to train them to go door to door to say, are you okay? Do you have any guns? Oh, give us your guns for your safety. We need your guns because you're not allowed to protect your property. We're here to protect you, yet we're not going to be here when the looters come at night. And I've lived through one of these hurricane scenarios too, with the Army on the ground. So I know what it's like when they're out there.
Well, Rob, isn't unfortunately the sad truth of the matter with the passage of the NDAA by our spineless so-called leaders? Can't they really come and abduct us now under their color of what they think is lawful, even though it violates our rights? They seem to think it's lawful. With the NDAA, they can really come and snatch us and take us away, can't they? I mean, isn't that what it says?
That's what they've done. I mean, Barrett Brown is in jail right now for posting a link and retweeting something that a Fox News commentator said. I mean, that's just bizarre.
How crazy is the world that guy is now in a federal prison?
Yeah, and the only thing they're worried about, not that they've taken his rights away, they're only worried about what they're calling him in court. Is it Mr. Brown? Is it Barrett? What do we call this guy? That's the big controversy in the courtroom. It's not, why do we even have this guy being held? It's because they don't like what he's saying. And that's a message to journalists out there. Like, if you get up in a certain echelon and you start reporting on stuff we don't like, we're either going to kill you, a.k.a. Michael Hastings, or we're going to put you in jail. And there's nothing you could do about it except ride it out.
Do you think you guys at InfoWars, obviously you're the 500-pound gorilla in the alternative media right now, and have been for a bit. How long do you think you're to a point where they're not going to mess with you because they don't want to make martyrs, or do you think you're going to see the same sort of tactics used against you guys?
Well, since I've been here, I think we've been visited by federal agencies at least 4 times. CIA, Secret Service. We had Texas Rangers out here a couple times. FBI. So we're definitely on their radar. The local offices definitely know who we are. And we're not doing anything illegal. We're just reporting on the news. We're reading, government reports. We're connecting the dots between watching mainstream media and seeing how they code things.
Well, it hasn't stopped them. Just with the guy we were just talking about, he wasn't breaking any laws, was he?
No, but I think he was one guy, and I think when they see you're one person, they don't attack a group, they attack one. That's how predator animals are. If you stray from the herd,
Gotcha.
And I hate to use the word herd mentality because I don't think we're a herd here at InfoWars, but there is strength in numbers.
Right.
And if you're by yourself, I think you're more apt to get preyed upon because they don't like hard targets. And I think Alex Jones has made himself a harder target to take down by bringing in people who are liberty minded and saying let's build an organization.
Rob, I want to ask you real quick about the cameras in Great Britain, but first I want to go back, and you guys have used this quote quite a few times on the air, but this reminds me of what you talked about, this journalist, Barrett Brown. The quote's from Hiram Mann. "No man escapes when freedom fails. The best men rot in filthy jails. And they who cried appease, appease are hanged by men they tried to please." That is such a timely quote, I think, for the age we're living in. Talk to us a little bit, if you can. You guys reported on it, I know. I think Drudge reported on it. What about this whole Great Britain now comes out and says they want to put a camera in everybody's residence? I mean, if this is not just basically taking a script from 1984 and just playing it out, and I think Great Britain's almost a 1984 experimental society, because it seems like everything in 1984 they try to perpetrate on that population. Talk a little bit about cameras in everybody's house there, Rob.
Well, they seem to be about 15 years into the future. And this is something, even George Lucas wrote about this in THX 1138. The guy opens his medicine cabinet and they, "What's wrong?" And there's a camera sticking in his face. He goes, "I don't feel good." And they said, "Take a red pill and then a blue pill." And, that's where it's coming to. And this is they were talking about doing this before too, but they wanted to do it just for poor people. They were just going to put it in poor people's homes who are getting government assistance, and that's how they're going to eventually bring this in. They're going to say, "Well, since you're getting government assistance, we need to make sure you're not A, on drugs, or B, being mean to your spouse or harming your kids. So we're going to put a camera up, but it's just for your protection. It's only for your protection, and it's so we know that you're a good citizen." And then they're going to go, "Well, now that we've got it in the poor people's houses, because they don't know what their rights are, and they don't have the lawyers to stop it. Well, now that we've got the camel's nose under the door, well, now everybody needs them. Now every new home is going to be a smart home." And people don't realize that they probably already have cameras in their homes. They got them in their computers. They're in their TVs. They're going to be in your smoke detectors. They're going to be in your refrigerators. It's going to be everywhere. So it's not going to be a camera sitting there watching you. It's already there, and people don't realize it. I guess that's my answer to that. It's already happening.
Rob, we've seen just a huge increase in what we're terming medical kidnapping, where we're seeing hospitals and doctors, if you're not getting the right treatment, if your child, God forbid, is sick, and you want to go get a second opinion, well, they just come in, they call CPS, and your child's taken from you. Just for wanting to do the right thing and have informed consent, be able to make a decision. And we're seeing just case after case after case after case. Can you comment on what's happening with CPS and what would be termed medical kidnapping, and your take on that?
Well, I'm actually working on a report now. I believe the lady's name is Carrie Rogan, or not Rogan. I'll look up the article here in a second. And anyway, her and her husband, they had a home birth with twins. People have probably seen this story. They also have an older kid who has eczema, and they were treating it with coconut oil and a couple other herbal remedies. Well,
that's a Christian couple, right?
The Christian couple, yeah.
Gotcha.
So they had an unassisted home birth, which I think it's their right to do. I wouldn't necessarily do that, but I think it's their right to do. And obviously they were successful because they had two twins. They had a set of twins. And then from pressure, and this is how this happens, pressure from their nosy little family members who want to tell them how to run their lives, say, "Well, you need to call the paramedics and have them come check on the children." So, okay, fine, we'll do that because we don't want to take them to a hospital because we want their immune systems to develop. So they call the paramedics. Paramedics come out and go, "Hey, your kids are healthy. They weigh more than their birth weight. This is good. Well, we think you ought to bring them, to the hospital just for a checkup." And they go, "Well, we're going to wait, at least 3. I think they said 6 weeks or 3 months or something like that till their immune systems have developed." Well, paramedics didn't like that, and because they're agents of the state, they call CPS. Go, "Well, you need to go out there and check on these kids." So CPS shows up, goes, "Hey, your older kid has eczema. You need to use a steroid cream." They go, "Well, we're using this herbal remedy, and it's working on his eczema." And they go, "Well, we don't like that." And they take their kids. So they have their kids for about 3 weeks, CPS does. Who knows what they're doing to them, what they're injecting them with, what they're feeding them. They want the babies to be on formula, not being breastfed. And so the parents get the kids back and they go, well, you know what? We got to get out of here. We can't live like this. All right. We don't need people telling us what to do. And so they take off. And then they catch them down in California, about 1,000 miles away from their home. They finally caught up to them. But what were these people really doing wrong? They were caring for their kids and they were trying to live their life. But the state comes in and goes, we say it has to be this, so you have to do this. And they do this with vaccines. And how do these things get approved? They get approved by either former government minions or through payoffs or through fake studies. And they go, look, we've done all the studies. We paid for all these studies. Incidentally enough, if you've ever looked at a vaccine insert, every vaccine insert I have ever read, not one of them say they've been tested to see if they cause cancer.
No actual clinical studies, yeah.
Not one. I mean, just not whether they work or not. Just, do they cause cancer? Do we know if these things cause cancer in rats? No, they don't know because they've never done the study. And a lot of them haven't done the studies to see if they impair fertility. And so we wonder why we have such a problem with people having infertility issues here in this country. Well, go ahead.
Sure. No, don't mean to interrupt there. I think this could become a very volatile issue. I mean, yes, we've been conditioned not to have emotional responses, and we're on all these medications to keep us from feeling emotions, and that's really how the state wants us. But this is dealing with our children, and there's so much instinctual hardwiring with a human being to protect their offspring. I know that I would be very hard pressed if someone was trying to kidnap my child to keep myself from going to places I wouldn't want to go normally. And I think it may be just a matter of time till we see a backlash of people saying, I'm not going to let you take my children and put them into a place. I mean, statistically, we see the places that these children are put, they're put on all kinds of pharmaceuticals. We've seen cases where they've wound up in child sex rings. I mean, it's insanity, and I think there's going to come a tipping point where families just say, we're not going to do this. We're not going to just lay down and let you take our children. Do you see a point in time coming like that?
Well, I think you're going to see, and unfortunately, you're going to see some of these public servants probably being summarily executed by the parents of the children that they're trying to take. And I think you're going to see that, which is not good. We don't want to go down that road. Right now, they're investigating the LA version of CPS because they say there was about 21,000 children, and it looks like they were getting $25,000 a head to take these children from families and put them into other families. And they get paid by the government to do this. There is financial incentive for them to kidnap your children. And this financial incentive is turning our children into a commodity. And what you're going to see, and what they're doing now, there's a company called Genogen, I believe is their name. They're out of California, and they're taking organs from aborted children, growing them in rats or pigs, and then they're going to use those to transplant organs into people. Now, let me ask you something. Can you live with yourself if you've known that some baby's life was taken away and then profited on by another company, and whoever the number of middlemen are there, and then an organ is grown and then put in your body? I mean, how can people live with themselves? And they're saying this is going to help you live longer. Is it worth it? Is that worth it?
That sounds like something a demon would come up with. That doesn't sound. It doesn't sound. It sounds evil.
It totally sounds evil, but they're doing it under, we don't have enough organs to give people. And our organ donor program where, we may kill you or withhold medical care so you die so we could get your organs, that's already in place, but it's not producing enough organs. So we have to figure out a way to grow them. Eventually they may be printing organs through 3D printers. I mean, they can already do this with proteins and print meat. So it's coming down the pike, and is that normal? I mean, you're getting your organs from a computer. Is that okay?
Well, you're not sacrificing a child for it.
You're not sacrificing a child, exactly.
So I would say that's a lesser. I'm a big proponent for 3D printing. I'm working with Mike Adams on his Food Rising project, and we're sponsored by Lulzbot. And we're big advocates of 3D printing here because I think it just has an incredible opportunity it's giving entrepreneurs to really revolutionize our economy in ways we've not seen in a long, long time. But yeah, I'm interested to see what they can do, because it's not killing a child, so I might be all right with looking down that avenue.
Yeah, and I'm in agreement with you on that. But this company doing this with children, and they're not a big company. They're very small right now. I looked them up. They don't look like they have a very big office. It's not even in a medical area. It kind of looks like sort of a neighborhood. So this is just getting off the ground. But I mean, just the fact that we're going to take aborted babies' organs and use them, like, this is now going to be a new economy. You know, I'm an aborted baby trader on Wall Street. I mean, it's disgusting.
It sounds like a South Park episode gone bad. Or what they're doing in China. I mean, they have vans where they'll go around and take people and take their organs right out. We've heard reports about that. How long till we get there here?
Well, I think we have a version of that here, and it's why people should be very wary of signing their organ donor card, because you may be unconscious when they pull you out of that wreck and they go, wow, he's got the organ donor card. Looks pretty healthy. We can make $400,000 off this person right now. Do we help them, or do we get the $400,000 plus the fees it's going to be with all these other patients that we're going to save? In theory,
you know, Rob, we have switch gears a quick second. We have, and remarkably enough, you guys reported on it, and it was great news. McDonald's is taking GBH out of growth hormone out of their milk and dairy products, and I want to say steroids out of their chicken, or hormones out of their chicken. Now you've got people backlashing against Monsanto and GMO foods. You have farmers now, they're not growing GMO crops. You have companies taking out high fructose corn syrup. You got the Food Babe, who you guys have had on the show, who just does awesome work. I mean, I cannot believe how one person said Food Babe is in my view, it should be an inspiration for everybody, that one person really can make a difference. My question is, do you see these corporations on the ropes, because the amount of information now and the awakening is accelerating? And I know I have days when I feel despair, like, man, nobody's awake. And then I have days when I feel like McDonald's is taking steroids out of their chicken. Man, we're making headway. What do you think about those comments?
Well, those are definitely wins, everything you cited with McDonald's. And I think you're going to see them raise their prices and go, look, if we're going to give you food that's done the healthy way, it's going to cost more. And I think that's going to happen across the board. I think people are going to pay more because they realize it's an investment in their health down the line. Maybe they won't get diabetes or they won't get cancer. I'm involved with a group. There's a local farm here, and we pay $25 a week, and we get a garden. It's like a garden share. Once a week, we go pick up a basket of fresh vegetables and fruit. And this is a way that it's not all of our food that we're eating, no, but it's a start. It's a start in the right direction. And this is what I think this is going to be a big trend. People are going to realize, hey, I got 2 acres out back. I could start growing food, get people to come over here and work this land for me, and then we'll all split a little bit of the profit. But we're also changing the way we eat our food. We're eating better. We're not just drinking soda. I can't even remember. I probably haven't had a soda every once in a while I do have a Dr. Pepper. But I haven't, had a soda in probably a year and a half. And, every once in a while, I have a Dr. Pepper or a ginger ale. But, I've cut that garbage out of my life. And people are doing it because they realize that, behind these commercials are these profit motives that have nothing to do with health and nothing to do with your well-being. It's just about selling you more of it quicker.
Absolutely. And I think, as we have the advent of people learning more about these natural foods, there's opportunities to grow your own, and people are beginning to do that. I know that I'm setting up my own hydroponic system here this year that we'll be doing videos of and whatnot, and there's ways to do it, and even do it without electricity. So
sure,
pretty exciting stuff.
And it's not going to change in one day. You're not just going to wake up and everything's going to be working for you. It takes work. It took us a long time to get to the place where we're at now as a society, where it's giant agribusiness running everything, and they in turn, our government helps fund them, so they make crappy food that we eat, gets us sick, and then we go into the medical industrial complex to get their drugs to get well, and the medical industrial complex is giving money to the government so they could have more drugs. they build into their profit model settlements. So they might make $66 billion on a drug, but they only pay a $3 billion fine. Hey, it's a win-win for them. They don't care. So you have to figure out a way to get yourself out of that medical paradigm and out of that produced food, that processed food paradigm, and figure out that if you want to live healthy, it all starts with what you eat and what you put in your body. And if you're not looking at that, and you're not looking at the air you breathe, and you're not looking at the clothes you wear and the cleaning products that you use, it all builds on itself if you want to live better. And it's not going to happen overnight. It's a process. I'm not where I was 10 years ago, but it's taken me 10 years to get where I'm at today.
Just a quick update, fellas. I just got an email through, and you guys are familiar with Gun Owners of America. We've had Larry Pratt on the show a few times. I know you guys have too, Rob. Yep. ATF makes a tactical retreat in the face of overwhelming opposition to its ammo ban.
They said it was a publishing error.
Oh, is that what they said?
Yeah, they're saying it was a publishing error, quote unquote.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
So they're backpedaling. Yeah. Hey, I wanted to jump in here. I was talking about some of the Monsanto types. I don't know if I'm sure you're aware, Rob, that Monsanto recently purchased Academy, which was ZE. What Blackwater became. It was Blackwater and Z. Now it was Academy, spelled a little funny. And we also have seen the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation purchase a very large share of Monsanto. What are your thoughts? Why does a company like Monsanto need their own private army, including an intelligence division? When what are their thoughts there? What do you think about that?
Well, they're fighting the info war, and they're fighting the info war from a different perspective that we're fighting it. We're fighting it because we don't want this garbage in our bodies. These people, I don't know if they really think they're doing good by producing, grasshopper corn or whatever they're producing, or ladybug asparagus, or franken apples. I don't know if they really think they're doing good, or if it really is. I think behind the scenes, I think it's an evil agenda, and they really do. Maybe not every doctor there does, but the reason they're doing this is because these are cold-blooded people, and so they have a private army ready. So one day you're going to see, I think, a storm the castle type event take place at a Monsanto headquarters. You're going to have a giant protest around it, and then maybe it'll be provocateurs. Probably provocateurs are going to climb over the fences and start breaking windows and start the attacks. And then you're going to see, wow, Monsanto has Monsanto tanks, and they're coming in with their Monsanto troops. And it'll literally be a green police type scenario that's going to happen, but it'll all be done with private security, and they'll be on private property. So I don't think there'll be much recourse for these people, but I think it'll be that type of scenario that'll take place if I was to look out in the future, just a few years from now.
Rob, switching gears a little bit politically here, you see, and I can't even believe that we're actually talking about another Bush and another Clinton coming up here. It's kind of far out here from 2016. But do you think, in your view, now, of course, I know you'd probably agree the last thing this country needs is either another Bush or another Clinton in the White House. Not that they really run things anyway, but do you think Hillary Clinton has been damaged enough now with the Benghazi stuff, with the emails? She's fairly Teflon. What do you think? Do you think that she is going to be the de facto Democratic candidate for 2016 and there's nothing we can do about it? Or do you think she's been damaged enough to where we may have an opportunity to circumvent her and her evil crime family?
I'd say it's probably a 60% chance that we damaged her, 40% that she'll be able to blow this off and keep going. I think the odds are in our favor at this point. I think it'll depend on what happens with these emails. And I mean, if we're getting them, we're getting printouts from her. Oh, here's my emails. Here they are. How do we know that, Hillary? How do we know that those are all your emails? Well, I printed them all out for you. Yeah, okay, you have a server hidden in your house. Who knows where the backups are? What we need to do is find the little twerp who's running all this stuff, because, she's not running server farms. She's not setting up private email systems. It's some little government-paid troll who probably works on the side discrediting websites, a la Cass Sunstein. It's probably someone like this that's the guy they need to go after and find out who is working on her backroom systems and subpoena this guy. But we'll never see that.
Rob, when are these people ever going to go to jail? I mean, not one of these scoundrels go to jail, man. I mean, none of them. What is it going to take to at least arrest one? You look at a guy like, what's this guy, Corzine? He basically just robbed people. I mean, he just flat out robbed them, and he's just walks away scot-free because he's in the club. I mean, how much more cover is the club gonna enjoy before people start saying it's time to get clubs and go after the club? You know,
I think you're gonna see the club until people really start taking action. I guess a small microcosm would be, people got all up in arms about these idiot frat boys singing a racist song, and well, now they're out of their house. They fired the cook, who happened to be African American, which I think is just a weird form of irony that in order to combat racism, we have to take away jobs. But eventually you're going to see that happen, I think, with someday somebody's going to go too far. I liken it to this, the David Icke perspective that these elites are aliens. Well, if they are, I want to see the video footage of the politician, having his face kind of peeled back, and we see the actual alien. Although I don't think that's how it'll work out, but when that will come out one day. That type of proof. I'm not saying that our leaders are aliens. They are alien to us because they're not like us at all. But you're going to see some moment happen like that, and it'll be akin to it'll happen so quickly. This thing happened over the weekend already. These guys are out of their frat house. They're probably going to get expelled if for singing a song, which I don't know if that's entirely. And I kind of tread lightly in that area because people, if you say anything the wrong way, then you're a racist for defending them. And I'm not defending what these guys did. It was totally repugnant. But you're going to see that type of reaction from people, and it's going to be immediate. And I think people are just going to have to get out of the system and figure out ways to just slowly take this system down in a peaceful way and work at that at the same time, hoping that this moment comes out. Like it's the documents. We've got video footage of George Bush putting a gun to somebody's head and pulling the trigger.
Rob, I'm going to switch gears here a little bit. We cover a lot on geoengineering here on the show. We've got Clifford Carnicon coming on Friday with several other of the big geoengineering chemtrail researchers out there. I watch this guys constantly. I'm out of Butte, Montana here, and I always have a camera or video camera with me. And as I'm doing my day job here during the day, driving around town, I'm always watching for the grid patterns they're putting down and documenting it, because when I talk to people, so many of them just they cannot believe that there's something happening in our skies. Of course, we've seen the lab results after these things have been sprayed, and the increase in the aluminum and barium nanoparticles. We're seeing the correlations to Morgellons disease. It sure seems there's something going on in the sky, whether it's for weather modification or upping the aluminum content. So Monsanto's new patented seeds will have a market, or whatever, to try to kill us off through a soft kill type technology. What are your thoughts? Do you subscribe to the geoengineering thoughts, and if so, what are they?
I think one of the biggest that doesn't get mentioned in with the chemtrails, because I totally believe in chemtrails and that they are spraying something in the air, and what better way than to put it into commercial airlines or even run operations with the Army where you're spraying things. But I think this glyphosate in the soil is one of the biggest geoengineering projects
everywhere.
out there.
It's everywhere,
yeah,
Rob.
It's in everything.
Everywhere.
And I don't think that gets enough. That needs to be included in that discussion of geoengineering, because the chemtrails, you can see them, and of course they can explain them away as it's ice crystals and this and that, and it's until we have that moment where we actually catch them dumping the additives into the fuel or wherever that's being made. It's got to be being made somewhere. This isn't just it's not appearing out of thin air. But this glyphosate is something that we even partake in. People get the Roundup and spray it all over their yard, and man, that stuff's going right in our water supply, and it's probably not getting filtered out. And I think and it's killing fish. It's changing the way fish are. The glyphosates, That and the what's the chemical that's in the plastic? It's on the tip of my tongue right now. Bisphenol A. Yeah. I mean those types of things, plus all the antibiotics we're dumping in to the water. I mean, we're helping our own geoengineering. I'd say we're probably at least 10 to 15% of the geoengineering that's going on is what we're doing. The poisons that we're putting back into our environment that are then coming back and either destroying the environment or coming back in through our bodies through the water we drink. And I think that's one place that I'd like to see people talk about more when they talk about geoengineering is the products that we use. I mean, people dumping, motor oil and gasoline and that type of thing, and where that's going. These, the refineries where we produce stuff, and we need this stuff. I'm not saying we don't need it, but we need to go. How clean can we make this without making it not profitable for people, and really look at that and go, this is where we draw the line. But I think we need people other than the government. We need somebody we need a watchdog group that's watchdogging the government on these things, and a scientific aspect that can go, look, here's our scientific experiments, here's our results. Let's look at them versus the government's, and let's really come and let's televise this. Let's come to an agreement at where true limits are that we should be putting on things, and then it go from there. But I don't think we're ever going to have anything like that. We're going to have the government saying, burning wood is bad because it puts particulates into the air, so we have to ban all wood stoves. You get nonsense like that, not really looking at what the real polluters are in this world. And the real polluters, hell, Exxon's never even paid for the damage they did up in the Valdez. And that, we let BP get away with it in the Gulf of Mexico. We just let it, we just let these people slide. They're okay. So I guess... Well, you guys like to get me on these certain rants and just let me
no, it's all good, man. It's all good.
Hey, this is great, man. I love it.
We talk about this, Rob, and that's more exactly my next question. You talked about the wood burning stove. Now you had states like Michigan stand up and say, "Listen, we're not following your federal guidelines," and you have Texas. I think a couple 3 weeks ago, they stood up and said, "Listen, your whole immigration thing, we're not following the whole immigration thing any longer. We're done. We're tired of it." I mean, is that a trend that you think we're going to start seeing along with these other trends we've talked about? Do you see the states finding their legs? Do you think they're going to be standing up more and more to the federal government as time goes on, or do you think they're going to acquiesce like they have done for so long now?
No, I think the states have been asleep for so long. They're finally getting people in. People are realizing that local state government is the way to really make change, and federal government is nothing but a mired bureaucracy where hopefully not a lot gets done. And when people say, well, the Congress wasn't very successful this year, they didn't get a lot of bills passed, I think that was very successful. I applaud when I hear stuff like that. I go, thank you. Good job, guys. Good job. Keep it up. But on the state level, we just had David Simpson here introduce a bill in Texas so we're just going to end marijuana prohibition. We're not going to put little provisos or anything. We're just going to get rid of it and just say, no, it's done. It was put in there for racist reasons. In actuality, it was. They didn't like the Mexicans coming into El Paso with weed. So they put a law, but it was there for the Mexicans in the beginning.
No doubt it was racist.
And that's real racism, that I'd like people to go after, not this Al Sharpton form of racism. But, you're seeing stuff like that. Incidentally, when you're talking about your federal ban, you got these weirdos out in the West Coast, which I love the West Coast. It's a beautiful country. But, man, these crazy environmentalists, they've got Washington, Oregon, and California. They all go along with these wood-burning stove bans. They just love, hey, you're not going to get to heat your home today. If we see white smoke coming out of your chimney, we're going to give you a $500 fine. And they're giving people $500 fines for this. It's happening now. And we've had at least the West Coast hasn't had that harsh of a winter, but think of that, some of these people over in Vermont or in the mountains of, Vermont or New Hampshire trying to burn something. You got some, how are you guys doing? Are you guys like banning wood stoves?
They're putting in new regulations. If you're putting in a new one, it has to be one of these ultra efficient ones. But I got to say, my father...
They don't work as well as the old ones.
Well, here, let me preface this though. My father lives off grid. He has for the last 20 years, generates his own electricity, his own everything. He's got a wind turbine system and whatnot. He put in one of these higher efficiency stoves. He did the research, and he actually has gone from 4 cords a year to heat to 1.5, if that.
Wow.
So there are some that really do work better, but to have it regulated, I think is just, you should buy it because you want to get it and it's a better product.
Exactly. Let the market decide. Don't tell me that I have to get the toilet that doesn't flush anything down, so I have to flush 5 times to get it to go down, which is what the government likes to do. They're like, say, everybody's got to have the same toilet. Everybody's got to get the same vaccines. Everybody's got to have the same health care. And they don't let the free market decide, which is where we're at now. We're going back to what you guys were saying in England. I think we're about 15 to 20 years behind what they're doing in England. They've just been able to ramp it up there because people are so used. They're so apathetic. They just they go along with it because they're being overworked. They're underpaid and they don't have time. They're like, man, I can barely keep my head above water. I can't go fight them about these cameras. I'll just let them put the cameras in.
Well, don't you think the fact, Rob, that in over there in Great Britain that they're really basically neutered, they're disarmed. They really don't have any weapons. I mean, they can really do. And I saw something, you probably saw it about a month ago. They're now talking, and the camera was just a follow-up to this original story. Now they're talking about the government being able to remote control everybody's vehicle, for traffic concerns and, for safety concerns, just like the cameras in everybody's home is for burglars. And it's like, are you kidding me? I see what you're saying about them being ahead of us, but I think as long as we're armed, and they're working hard every day to make that, to disarm us, that. But as long as we're armed, I don't think they can get away with as much as they can in Great Britain here in the States, why we still have firearms. We're still in possession of firearms. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that's why we are 15 to 20 years behind them, because as long as we have the Second Amendment, we can keep them sort of in check. I mean, they are surrounding us, and they are digging moats and hills and coming up with new types of ways to attack us. But as long as we have the Second Amendment, they can't do that final charge. And when they do go for that Second Amendment, when they do go for the last vestige that keeps the First Amendment alive, then I think you're going to see that acceleration if they're able to do that. But I've seen the awakening happen. 10 years ago, I was not into guns. And I think there's a lot of people that weren't into guns. They just, hey, we're safe. We're a safe country. We got police. We got this and that. You kind of believe in the system. And then as you get older, you slowly see how the system screws you over and over and over again, and that there's selective enforcement. Some people get enforced upon. Some people don't. And you realize that there are 2 classes of citizens. There's the government class. Well, there's the 1%, and the smaller percentage that's above them. And then you have the government class, which are these brown shirt enforcers. They're the ones who are appeasing, and then they're the ones who will soon get taken out as well, which they don't see, but it's happened. It happens every time this goes down with these dictatorships. They always get rid of the brown shirts.
Yeah, history tells us that's exactly what's going to go down.
Yeah.
Hey, we're coming to the end of the hour, and we know your time is valuable. We really appreciate you coming on. Before we ask you for your websites and whatnot, is there any story out there you're working on that you might be able to give us a sneak peek on? What's the big blip on your radar right now?
Well, vaccines are something that's big. I've been doing a lot of vaccine reports lately, and mainly because I've got a lot of young kids in my family. And so I've been dealing with this a lot more than other people have. But let me see if I can find the article that I think somebody sent it to me this morning. We have a very efficient network of sending links. It's just trying to figure out who sent what when. And
Rob, I think while you're looking for that, I think
since
we've had you on last, they were going to try to forcibly vaccinate people. They floated that whole, remember the anti-vaxxers were like, hey, these anti-vaccine people are giving our vaccinated kids measles. And I never did really make the connection in my mind logically how that worked. I think,
I think
that
the InfoWars winning though, Jim. I mean, we saw today there was a major news release about viral shedding may be the cause of the whole Disney outbreak, that it was actually a vaccinated kid that may have started it through viral shedding. So we're starting to get some good play on actual mainstream media, the old dinosaur media, that normally is lockstepping with the pharmaceutical companies, but it seems like there is some information getting out there. So I'm stoked about that. Sorry, I didn't mean to jump in there.
I totally agree. But what you've got is, unfortunately, the states are coming in and they're being pressured because they believe the hype in the vaccines and they think the science has been settled and all this, just like global warming. New Jersey Senate committee approves restrictions on religious exemption for vaccines. So they want you to jump through a couple more hoops. Here in Texas, they've introduced a bill. I believe it's HB 2600. And this was done by Jason Villaba out of Dallas, and that was to get rid of the conscientious objection and also to make an end around the religious exemption as well. So they're going to fight that on the state level now instead of the federal level, I think.
Rob, quick, give out your websites. We're coming up to the break. The music's playing.
Sure. PrisonPlanet.tv, InfoWars.com, PrisonPlanet.com, and the Alex Jones channel on YouTube. Please check it all out. And yeah, that's about it. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Thanks Rob. We always appreciate you coming on. We love it when you can make it.
All right. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Thanks, you too.